my name is Andrea Ostergaard. I am the Director of Events at Mpact. So thanks for joining us today. I am joined by Amy Yoder, a planner at the TOD office at Metro Transit based in the Twin Cities, and Tessie Rasmussen, Managing Principal at InfraStrategies out of LA in California. Welcome to you both. They are both National Steering Committee members for Mpact. And we'll be joining and explaining some of the call for speakers information today. Today, the webinar, we're going to cover sort of the process from the call for speakers through to the conference. We're going to understand what our session development steering committee members are looking for as they curate conference sessions and look for proposals. And you're going to have an opportunity to ask questions about the process, about the conference, anything you is burning and you'd like to know. So if you have questions along the way, do feel free to put them into the Q&A. We'll try to get to them along the way, but we'll likely wait till the end and answer all those then. As many of you know, we are Mpact, Mobility, Community, Possibility. The last time that we were in Pennsylvania in 2018, when our conference was in Pittsburgh, we were Railvolution. And for nearly over 30 years, about 30 years, we have shaped the vision for transit-oriented communities. We may have rebranded, but our values and mission remain the same. We convene and support leaders, practitioners, and advocates who work on transit, connected mobility options, land use and development, and are dedicated to engaging with the community to define what's possible and share practical, proven ways to get there. At Mpact, we have three main programs: our Transit Plus Community Conference, again, focused on transit and development and creating great places to live. We're going to be in Philadelphia this year. We'll get more on that in a few minutes. We also have a program, Mpact Lab. This is a capacity building and leadership development program. We work in communities, small and large, and in different stages of the process of building these connected communities. And we have our Mpact Voices program. We have a podcast, and we tap our network to learn and pull fresh ideas so that we can have interesting content year round. We are on social media. Please feel free to follow us at Mpact Mobility, and our website. You can find more information about these programs and all of the information here on this webinar and the conference at impactmobility.org. The Mpact Transit Plus Community Conference will be in Philadelphia, October 20th through the 23rd this year. Our conference, as I stated earlier, focuses on the potential for transit and mobility with land use and development together to create better places for people. People are at the center of what we do, and we work to foster equitable transit-oriented communities as the best way to address the climate crisis and create just and resilient places to live. The conference is a place to learn about new tools and make cross-sector connections and have fun and take a look at serious work and be inspired. So we are looking for proposers, we are looking for thinkers and the doers with the real world experience and approaches that yield better outcomes for our communities. We like to provide proven ways to get there, and we love to discuss ways to do it better, ways maybe we didn't do it or didn't get it accomplished, and ways to do it differently next time. So when we're thinking about crafting sessions and content, we like to think about them with practitioners, leaders, and advocates in mind. And we try to be relevant to those both new to the industry as well as those who've been in this space industry for many years, 20+ years or more. So the call for speakers is now open. We opened yesterday. It's on our website, impactmobility.org/speakers. We'll have the form. It'll have all of the tools and documents that you will want in order to put together your proposal. The proposal process really is a process that we do in conjunction with our National Steering Committee. Our National Steering Committee is a group of about 50 leaders in the industry, from nonprofits and consulting firms and transit agencies and other mobility companies, to craft the direction, discuss themes, discuss topics, and really influence and put together the content for the conference. We just had our first meeting in February, and at that meeting we did a whole bunch of activities and discussed all different ways to formulate the direction for the call for speakers this year. So joining Amy Yoder is here to talk about the group and what the group decided and is looking for this year. So I'll pass it over to Amy.
Hello, folks. So as Andrea mentioned, the National Steering Committee for Mpact gets together and kind of help shape where the conference is going each year. And then we also work to craft sessions throughout for the conference. So kind of one of the things that makes Mpact unique is the many, many, many hours that the NSC members spend working with speakers, building sessions, identifying if there's any gaps in like a hot topic that we know planners are working on, that community development agencies are considering, something that's cropped up that we didn't get any proposals on, and we build those sessions straight from scratch. So there's this whole kind of the sausage making that goes into building this conference for our community, for all of us. And this year we did that with the conference itself. We kind of stripped it back, went back to really questioning what Mpact is and what we're looking for, and kind of discovered that beyond categories and topics, what we kept coming back to was this idea of problems that we are working to solve. So as you might have noticed, the call for speakers this year looks a little different. We're asking folks, what solutions can you provide? We're asking this set of questions. And it's not looking for a specific set answer, right? We don't want a silver bullet because those don't really exist. We're looking into how are you solving it? Get down into the gritty details. What's the messy stuff you're doing? What worked? What didn't? Where is the work happening? And how have you gotten there? And what are you doing about it? So the questions that we've included in the call for speakers this year include: how are you solving funding gaps? How are you solving for quality of life issues? How are you solving for access and mobility? How are you building a knowledge and an action base? How are you building complete communities? And then kind of a bonus question of, do you have a burning issue or critique for the Mpact PK Slam, which is this super fun event that gets put on during every conference. A PK Slam is 20 slides in 20 seconds. I think that's right. Yeah. So people do really serious topics, really kind of fun topics, just whatever doesn't quite fit into a regular session, right? So those are kind of the big questions that we're looking at this year. Next slide, Hillary. Maybe not. So as you start thinking about your proposals and what you want to put forward, the real key piece that we're digging into and we're trying to build together is the answer to kind of so what. So thinking about your proposals, thinking about these questions, we're looking for something that's like a path-breaking cross-sector partnership or a new method for centering user experience, kind of digging into the unique pieces that aren't just a simple, easy answer. That's how you're really addressing these key core questions that shape our communities, that shape a just, sustainable community, like Andrea was talking about earlier. And we recognize that the questions that are in the call for speakers might not perfectly fit every single proposal or good project. So we encourage you to kind of think through the questions, dig into it, and consider where your project, where your idea might fit best. So it doesn't have to be perfect. It can be a little bit of a stuck to the side, but just really dig into what's being solved, what are you working on. It can be multiple things. So a project could be trying to help solve housing inequality while also being really intentional about climate resilience. So we want that complexity, and we know you've got it, and we're looking forward to seeing what you have to share with us. One other thing that we included in the call for speakers, and that we would love to hear more on, is this idea of hot topics for 2024. So there's a whole huge list of stuff that we put together that we know we're all thinking about and it's coming up in our work. And things like the fact that it's an election year, um, talking about safety and security in transit, zoning, workforce development, all these different kind of hot topics. So keep those maybe in the back of your mind as you're putting together proposals and applications. Um, and now we're gonna turn it over to Tessie.
Thank you. So I'm going to talk a little bit about the logistics side of things. As you may be figuring out, if you didn't realize already, we do things a little differently. So one of the things that we're always looking for is a balance of perspectives. And so if you are going to be putting together a group proposal, which is, we love seeing those, make sure that you're keeping in mind a diverse set of perspectives, backgrounds, geographies, industries. We don't want a panel of 4 planners from your city, unless there's something really, really compelling about it and you can really get that across. What we're looking for is, you know, a planner from one city and maybe a community or a community organizer from another, and you know, throw another completely oddball thing in there and let's see what the mix is. So if you're going to do a group proposal, keep that in mind, please. We love individual proposals too. We want to hear from you, and then that gives the NSC some great opportunity to craft a panel, you know, whole cloth, and really get into that. One thing, make sure if you're putting together a group proposal that everybody knows they're in the proposal. You'd be surprised. We want to make sure that everyone's on board and they're going to be able to attend if you've put the time into putting together this amazing group. Make sure that you're going to be able to attend in person. We're not doing virtual this year. And you know, we do have some options for either attending the whole event or just the day you're speaking. And finally, keep in mind that the NSC does reserve the right to delve into a group proposal and really start mixing things up. So it's not meant as a dig on anything. We are just curating across 40, 50 different sessions and making sure that we're getting the best perspectives and the best ultimate session that comes together. Next slide. Yeah. So there's a number of formats we do. We try to stay away from the same layout of a session where you have, you know, 3 panelists sitting up front, 3 glasses of water, a microphone, and then, you know, they run through 20 minutes each. We really like the idea of engagement, and that's core to this process. So as you're putting together your panels or your session proposals, think about how you want to talk to the audience and interact with the audience. Do you want to have some breakouts? We can totally help facilitate that. Do you want an idea exchange? Also can facilitate that. You know, panels are great too. I've put together several of them. Make sure that you're also keeping in mind engagement components for a panel. So lots of Q&A, maybe some quizzes, maybe some back and forth. There's some great opportunities, and there's a lot of information in the call for speakers packet. So, you know, consider that as you're putting together your session. Finally, I think I touched on hands-on activities and Q&A and audience participation. So again, just to emphasize that. So I think that covers my speaking part. maybe?
Yeah, we can go over, do you want to go over the evaluation
Oh, I'm
criteria?
sorry.
Sort of how we, no problem.
I jumped ahead. Nerves. Um, so as the NSC is going through all of the wonderful proposals that we get in, and we get a lot, again, we're looking for cross-sector viewpoints. So like I mentioned before, we really don't want 4 planners from Metro Transit. Sorry, Amy. And we definitely don't want 4 consultants from InfraStrategies. We want to see, a variety of perspectives. We want approaches that achieve equitable outcomes, as well as intentionality toward achieving climate outcomes. And Amy and Andrea talked about that before. That's really core to our organization. We do have a unique way of grading our proposals. So we want to make sure that we're getting different genders, different cultures, different abilities. We want perspectives from historically underrepresented communities of color. Speaker diversity is probably the #1 thing we look at when they're coming in. We'll start delving into the details, but we really, really are looking at speaker diversity. Also, where are you being innovative? I know that word gets thrown around a lot, but we really do want to see the really strange stuff that's going on that comes out of your head. Share it with us. And maybe someone else will see some parts that they can apply to bring back to their community. But we also want the practical stuff too. So what's working? What's coming back to the basics and really working in your area? Again, this all comes back to what Amy was talking about. We want to know how you are solving problems in your community. So we look forward to seeing what you put out there. Andrea?
Yeah. I'm going to speak just a little to the timeline. So you will, like I said, submit the proposal through our online form on our website. There are tools on the website. There's an information packet which has more detail, has a lot of the information that we're talking about here. And it also has a Word version of the questions from the online form. And this is our worksheet. So you can gather your thoughts, put everything onto that worksheet, and then copy and paste it into the form. Our form will time out after an hour. So this is sort of for those people who get started and then step away and then come back. If you don't have it saved on your Word sheet, it won't be saved in the submission form until you actually submit it. So just, please be aware that it will time out after an hour if you step away. Hopefully it doesn't take you a full hour, but to submit it, but just be aware. The deadline is March 29th. So it's the last Friday in March, and it'll be at 11:59 midnight Hawaii time. So I think, we like to make sure that our friends in Hawaii get the same opportunity to submit up to the deadline. We begin reviewing proposals that following Monday. So our National Steering Committee in April will receive the proposals and get to work, start reading them all. And then we will meet at the beginning of May for 3 days to start putting the sessions together and really lay out the program for the conference. For this, we're usually shooting for between 50 and 60 sessions. I think we always are trying to get tighter and have fewer, more. I would love to get around 50. I think some years we've had even more than that. So between May and June, our steering committee members who now are considered session coordinators, they reach out to the proposers and some prospective speakers, sort of discuss, ask questions, maybe find out a little bit more. And then we meet one last time at the end of June to really finalize all of our sessions. The first time you should think about or plan to meet with the rest of the people in your session will be in early July, and then everyone will find out about their proposal by the end of July. after that, we'll be preparing, finalizing, getting those presentations, getting those sessions ready and for the conference in October. So now I'm going to take a minute to have some questions. I'm gonna turn off this presentation. There we go. Did that work? Here we go. And show. Okay. So now I'll field some questions. I'll look. It doesn't look like there's a ton in the Q&A right now. Here's a question that was answered. What if my presentation is only representative of one geographic region? Is it okay to submit it as a concept and have the NSC potentially partner or another presenter and panelist? Do you guys
Yes.
wanna, yeah?
That's the building blocks for the sessions. So we can take one individual submission, and that might pair well with other ones that are already also submitted, or we go out and we start finding other panelists that we think would also tie in together, and it becomes a much bigger thing. So yes, definitely.
And I will add
go ahead.
that we prefer and we really push for diversity, but sometimes there are stories, there are concepts, there are problems that really are served by having more of a geographic focus. So a specific case where we can look at it from a community activist perspective, a transit perspective, a developer. So there's ways to bring in that diversity of experience and perspective, even if sometimes it's a more geographically limited panel or not panel. Please, not all panels. So just keep that in mind. It's rare and we do it less, but don't limit yourself. Like if you've got that really good story that really taught you something and made a difference, we want to hear it.
Okay, let's see. Most of the questions have been answered in the Q&A. Oh, there's one. What if I have an idea that could be a PK slam or a larger session topic? Depending on how much depth is covered, should I submit multiple proposals? I think, I will just from a process standpoint, I think we definitely take those PK slam proposals and siphon them off to our Mpact innovators, which is another group of people who help work on our conference, volunteers who are newer to the industry, to the profession, focus on networking, things like that. And so we definitely give that grouping. It would probably, if you wanted to, I would probably suggest to submit those ideas twice. You both would agree with that? Just so it doesn't get lost in the fold.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then must a session contain a transit transportation element, or can a session talk about transit supportive land use, think setting up a place or community to be ready for transit? One of you want to take that one?
Yes.
Yes.
I mean, I transit adjacent is still transit. It's, it's all a part of the ecosystem. So definitely, I would say yes.
And it doesn't necessarily have to mean you have to have a transit planner involved, but like I talked about earlier, it's partially that intentionality. So it's not just that you're building next to transit and that's just coincidental. It's that there's some element that is really tied into the connection between transit and community and sustainability and all those pieces. So it doesn't have to be like bus schedules or something, but it really should be intentional on that connection, because transit is a key piece of what we're doing.
Mm-hmm. Some of the there's a question. One of the questions I think of when they say building complete communities or at the knowledge base, how are we building knowledge base? I feel like something around, if this is addressing governance or coalition building, that type of we love those types of proposals too, and that would really fit into sort of that building capacity knowledge base question that we're asking. in the documents. Here's another question. Are you interested in case studies? How might that fit into a panel?
Amy, I think you kind of touched on that before, yeah.
Yeah. Case studies, definitely. Just be aware that you might have one of us knocking on your door and saying, hey, have you heard of so and so? What if we put you together and you talked about it? Because we do tend to kind of try and bring people together and try and bring all those different perspectives. So we love case studies. We just might introduce you to some new folks and get you talking.
Another question, would love to include a community activist, but the cost may be prohibitive for them. Are there scholarships available? We do provide limited speaker scholarships. These typically are, they'll come, we do ask the question in the proposal, so it's nice to know if you're going to be requesting one, then we know in advance. These usually cover registration and also a travel stipend, which is usually $500. So it's not enough to fully fund someone to come to the conference and participate. But hopefully those scholarships can help get somebody there. And we really, after we start putting everything together, those kind of are given out in a first come, first serve basis, really towards community-based organizations, nonprofit, and community activists, those types of people and groups that have very limited travel funds.
We've also a couple of times been able to include somebody in like the Impact Voices, the podcast, or some of that other the other areas that Impact builds community and brings communication. So if there's somebody who can't travel for some reason, there's also opportunities for them to be involved in what we're doing. Just reach out, let us know.
Yeah. I just was glancing through the chat, and there is Daniel Wu asked, does Impact have a channel or method for proposers to see each other's ideas and potentially team up for a group proposal? We unfortunately do not have that. So at this point, you just have to know some people, or like we said, you can always just submit individually with an idea. What I would recommend not doing is submitting a group proposal with, you as a lead proposer, and then saying in the other areas, we'll find other people later. Don't worry about doing that. It's either an individual proposal or a group proposal. And if it's a group proposal, really recommend having that fleshed out, ideas for additional speakers, and having, talked to those people to see that they're willing to participate. So keep that in mind. When in doubt, just maybe go the individual route.
And have fun with it. Last year, I was lucky enough to put together an introduction to funding session. And I'm sure this came out of a glass of wine or something, but we did the whole theme around Ted Lasso, and we were able to get a public sector person and a consultant to get together and really just talk about the basics of a topic. But it was humorous and it was fun, and it was something different. So we're not looking for, suits, ties, and stodgy sessions. Definitely keep an element of fun, because that's why we do what we do. We're passionate about it. And
yeah. And something
You're
I
right.
mentioned in the chat is we also love seeing stories about stuff that didn't work. And I know that can be hard, right? No one wants to go and say, oh yeah, and we just absolutely messed up on this. But a lot of times that's where we learn. So we love seeing that kind of stuff. We're also happy to help kind of massage something to keep it on the line of diplomatic. So don't be afraid to bring things that didn't go well to Impact, because we've all been there.
Is there any other questions? Oh, one more from Howard. Hi, Howard. For Philly area concepts, is the call for proposal process good for mobile workshop, or do I need to join another committee? I think the mobile workshop is a different process than through this call for speakers. This call for speakers is really to put together the sessions, the sort of concurrent sessions that happen throughout the conference on Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. So it's another committee, Howard, but we can connect you with the right people.
I think I forgot to, speaking of sessions, I think I forgot to mention kind of the timeframes, but we do 45-minute sessions and 90-minute sessions. And so there are options, again, individual versus group proposal, whether we put a bigger one together or we have it be kind of a quick hot topic take on something. So you know, also keep that in the back of your mind as you're putting together your write-up.
And there's some like session formats in the call for speakers in the proposal that you put together. But if you know something cool to do that's outside that, don't be afraid to kind of say it's going to be a panel, and then also say, actually, what I'm thinking is this. Like I'm apparently doing a Family Feud style 101 this year, even though I've never seen Family Feud. So got some research to do myself. But just there's options there. Pick the one that's closest. But if you've got a really cool idea, we're open to hearing it.
Absolutely. Okay, well, I think we are at time. Thank you all for coming. Thank you, Tessie. Thank you, Amy. If you have other questions, you can reach out to me anytime. My email is andrea.o@impactmobility.org. So feel free to shoot me an email. And we really look forward to reading all of your proposals. So thanks for coming, and good luck.
See you in Philly.
See you in Philly.